Hello there, I'm Scotty. You're not welcome back once again, one more time, to the Harry Potter review series. We're talking about Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2, semicolon, or colon, why wasn't this the first part? I'm sorry. That whole first part was just dragging on. The whole point is to hunt down the Horcruxes, right? They only get one in that first part, and they don't do anything with it. They do eventually kill it, and the aforementioned Deathly Hollows aren't mentioned till the third act of the movie. Way so much character building in that first part. I still think you could have just smooshed everything together and gave us a conclusion. Even if it's like a 3-hour movie, it's the conclusion of Harry Potter. So what? You know, it's like Endgame. That was almost 3 hours. It's a conclusion to that whole saga. Make this one 3-hour film with elements of the book. You don't need to have the entire book told between two parts. This is the better part. As we start out right away, like this has such a satisfying conclusion, although that very last scene, the flash forward to the future, always confuses me. It's like, did we need to have it spelled out to us what was going to happen? Not really, but we'll get there. But yeah, so we start off with the survivors. Dobby's dead now, of course. And so Harry is talking to Ollivander about the Elder Wand, and he says that the wand's allegiance will change depending on who disarms or kills its former master. So Voldemort has it right now, so he's got control, right? Right? I don't know. Ollivander disappears. Bye, John Hurt. Nice to see you. And they decide they have to go back to Hogwarts. Well, they have to sneak into Gringotts to get something from the vault. Bellatrix's vault. They do disguise themselves. Hermione is dressed as Bellatrix. And I'm watching this scene, and it's like, why couldn't it just be as simple as she walks in, she was like Bellatrix, they let her in? Everything in these movies is drawn out to the point that if you cut it down to make it, like you could cut it down and these movies wouldn't be as long as they are. This movie's 2 hours, and you could have cut it down. Like, the whole point of her being disguised so they could sneak in easily to get to what they need to get into. But she goes in there, and they're like, name? You mean name? Bellatrix Lestrange. And they're like, are you, you know, can you prove it? What do you mean, can you? Look at her. Like, you know, it's... Then they eventually get in there with Griphook, who... So, this is... I'm going to nitpick some things, because this... I mean, it really doesn't... It's just to get rid of the sword, but like, he's like, when I do this for you, I want that. I want the sword. Okay. So they get down there, and what they're after is this chalice that belonged to... Was it... Not Gryffindors. Is it Hufflepuff? The chalice, right? I don't know. Then the guard dragon shows up, and Griphook's like, peace, I'm out, and he steals the sword. But like, eventually Griphook dies because he's killed by Voldemort, and then the sword disappears. Like, I understand he steals the sword so it could be out of the way, but then showing that it disappears after Griphook is killed, it's just like, why couldn't you have it where, I don't know, Harry tries to use it, it gets dropped and disappears, and they can't find it. And they think Griphook took it. I don't know, because clearly Voldemort didn't want anything to do with it. I don't know. It's a nitpick. They get out of there riding on the freaking dragon. right? And yeah, they realize they have to go back to Hogwarts to find this tiara crown. It's a crown that belonged to Rowena Ravenclaw, but also it's the only place where you can really can find something to kill the to destroy the Horcruxes. So they gotta go back, and I love this scene because they walk in, because like, well they sneak into Hogsmeade, and we again, I don't know why they can't just sneak in and go, sneak into the castle. No, we gotta sneak in and have a 8-minute conversation with Dumbledore's brother that amounts to, he talked about you. That's a mirror. You look just like Dumbledore. Hey, I'm old. Nice to see you. They're gone. It doesn't really amount to anything. I don't know. You don't need everything from the book. Apparently they did use everything from the book, but it sure seems like it. 2 movies and you're trying to throw everything at the freaking wall. So they sneak in, and I like this. Like, Snape's like, anyone got associated with Mr. Potter? We'll fill her out of the Dark Lord. Whatever he says. Because Snape's the headmaster now for some reason. Because the ministry is now corrupt, I think they established in the last one. With, what's her nuts. But, pretty much. Because they had another minister, it was Bill Nye, then he was killed, and the other guy was corrupt, I think. So, yeah, I think. I don't know. But anyway, because Neville helps them sneak into the castle, and then Harry just comes marching in with people on his side. And they're like, yeah. So I don't know if it's in this, but Fred Weasley died, but George was the one that got hurt, right? At some point, did he die here? I know that Remus Lupin and the pig lady died, and now their child is an orphan because they had to mention it in the last one. But he's got what's left of the Order with them to fight. And McGonagall, she steps up to Snape, and she basically tells him off. You will not hurt them this night. Whatever she talks. And they're, psst, and he gets kind of thrust away, and then she banishes all the Slytherins to the dungeon. Except for Malfoy and his 2 cohorts, who are no longer Crabbe and Goyle, but some other dude, because the actor who played Goyle, what, is it criminal? Or something? I don't know. Like, yeah. Because later, they show up in the room of requirement, I got the name right, and they burn it down, and they're like, but it's like, I thought they were sent to the dungeon. Yes, I know that Malfoy is working directly with Voldemort, but the other 2 don't have such of a hall pass unless Draco gave it to him, but all Slytherins were sent to the dungeon. And again, that's a little bit of judging. They're like, oh, all Slytherins must be evil because, I don't know. Maybe they are. But, yeah. So now it's time for the final battle. Kinda. Right. Because we get in there, we're ready to go, but it's a 2-hour movie. So now we gotta spend about 10 to 15 minutes trying to find this goddamn crown. And they're like, oh, we need the crown of Ravenclaw. Oh, no, and nobody alive knows where it is. Oh, and Harry's just gonna walk up and down the steps till he finds it, I guess. Until Luna's like, you said that nobody alive knew where it was. What about the people who are dead? So they talk to, for some reason, Rowena Ravenclaw's sister or daughter. Why can't it be the actual Ravenclaw if all the ghosts keep going? I don't know. And she basically tells him it was hidden. It's in the room requirement. It's hidden in there. Even though the first time we saw the room in Order of the Phoenix was completely empty, now because it's been retconned to have a bunch of shit in it, it's there. I guess. Was it a room requirement? Is it in there somewhere? Whatever. Meanwhile, Ronald and Hermione go down to the Chamber of Secrets, where the basilisk skeleton is just rotting away down there, and they take a fang, and even though there's a bit of a battle down there, they end up stabbing, because you have to open the Horcrux. This is the chalice, so I don't know how you open it to do it, but they stab it, and then they kiss. About goddamn time. Should have been 2 movies ago, man. What the hell? I didn't like that later when then the room requirement confronting Malfoy and the other two. Ron's running around going, "What are you doing? That's my girlfriend!" But he gets the crown and he ends up doing that too. By the way, how long can a basilisk fang last? Because it's like that's been there since the second movie, which at this point would be, this is still 7th term, but they say 6 months have passed since the beginning of the first part and this one. So 6 months. So it's still 7th year, and I don't know. So it's been about 5 years within the story, but 10, I don't know, or 9 since that, but I don't know, whatever. It works. It's a book. I have a question. Like, they mentioned that the Hallows in the last one, but like, again, it doesn't mean shit because the other stuff doesn't get used. Well, the cloak doesn't really, but then he does use the Resurrection Stone, which is not the fucking, what do you call it? Sorcerer's Stone? Would that have made more sense? I guess not. So, yeah, and he brings back his dad's loved ones to talk him up to facing down Voldemort, because the only thing left is the snake is the final Horcrux. But we also find out, because Voldemort kills Snape, and Snape extracts a memory, well, like all of his memories. You say that he was in love with Harry's mom. We knew that already. We see that he was actually on Dumbledore's side the entire time and was put undercover within Voldemort's army this entire time. And he actually really cared about Harry very much because of whose son he was. See, he was secretly in love with James. No, it was Lily, right? And it is revealed that the Patronus that he saw was Snape's. A doe, that was Snape's, the one that guided him to the sword. How he knew where the sword was is beyond me, because the sword just shows up whenever it wants to, and there's proof in that later. But yeah, so Harry goes down to face down. So Voldemort kills Snape because Snape was the one who killed Dumbledore, so Voldemort thinks, I kill you, then the wand will work for me. So, yes. It doesn't always work the way it is. So, there's a... Wait a minute. There's a logic issue. We'll get to it. So Harry walks in and gets killed right away. Abracadabra. Dead. And he goes to the building from Bruce Almighty. Seriously, that's what it looks like. He's there on the 7th at 7, on the 7th floor, talking to Dumbledore, and won't let Dumbledore rest in peace. Every time Dumbledore tries to leave, Professor, will you let him go? They have a conversation which basically amounts to, yeah, you're not really dead, and you can kill Voldemort now that you're no longer a Horcrux, because, spoiler alert, because here's the thing: when Voldemort attacked Harry all those years ago in Hog's Swallow Alley, whatever that was called, forgot what it was called. Godric Cove Place Terrace. I don't know. Godric Hollow. Right? Godric Hollow. Whatever. A part of his soul was put on to Harry, which is what they've been hinting at the entire 7 books and movies, 8 movies, 7 books. But yes. So now that Harry died and is magically brought back to life because magic, he's free from that. But, Voldemort brings his body. Harry Potter is dead. You get this wonderful scream from, I think, Hermione. But who stands up to him? Neville Longbottom. Yes. And it says, so Harry's dead. But that doesn't mean that the fight is over and they stand up. And then Harry pops up. And Neville has the sword because I don't know. I don't know. He has the sword because the book said. He finds the hat, which is not what the sword was in, but it's in there now for some reason. It's a little confusing. But yes, and Neville does try to fight. He gets his ass thrown all the way across the freaking castle. And there's a fight. And this battle, badass. You got Harry and Voldemort fighting with their wands. Various wizards and Death Eaters fighting. Only problem is, and no offense to Mrs. Weasley, but I don't think she should have been the one to kill Bellatrix. Neville should have been the one to kill Bellatrix. I know he had the sword and thus had to kill the snake, but if he just so happens to go right through the gut of Bellatrix and then go after the snake, I think that Neville deserved, in the words of Vernon Dursley, and he doesn't get that. Mrs. Weasley just evaporates her. It's cool, but it should have been Neville. Now there's no justice. Yeah. So doing this, though, completely nullifies. Oh, by the way, by this point, seeing the writing on the wall, the Malfoys are like, see ya, we're out of here, bye. And they just walk off. They're like, oh, we're out, bye, gone. I guess I had nothing for them to do. Am I wrong for thinking that there should have been one final battle between Harry and Malfoy? I don't know. Am I wrong for thinking Hermione should have been the one to kill Malfoy? It was building up there, the whole mudblood thing. The two things were really building up. It's either she's the one to kill him, or they end up falling in love and getting married. And neither of those happened, because she was Ronald. So, I don't know. But, yeah. And because now the snake is dead, there's no more power for Voldemort, and so he dies. He evaporates into nothing. Gone. Right? And then we got some bullshit. Okay? So, because there's a whole thing with, the wand is never loyal to you. And we get this dialogue between the three of them as they're surveying the damage. Where, like, okay. We needed a scene. Well, we get a scene where Harry is greeted by a loved one. It's Hagrid. Get a big hug from Hagrid. We needed a scene where Harry walks in and there, standing at the end of the room, is Ginny. And he sees her, she sees him, and they run to each other and we get a smooch. We don't get that. We just see a flash forward. Oh, they're married. Good for them. But, an itch and my scratchers in there. So, yeah, here's the dialogue. As they're surveying the damage, they're looking, and he's got the wand. He goes, it wouldn't work for him because it wasn't loyal to him. And they're like, so, he thought killing Snape would make it loyal to him, but it wasn't loyal to Snape. Because Malfoy was the one who de-wanded Dumbledore that night. So it was loyal to Malfoy. However, through some discombobulation, he explains that he de-wanded Malfoy, but Malfoy didn't have the Elder Wand. He just de-wanded Malfoy's wand. And apparently that means that it's loyal to him. Okay, sure. I'm trying to make sense of this. Try this again. He disarmed Malfoy. When? Because that's the whole thing. Oh, I disarmed Malfoy, so it was loyal to you. But wait. No. Because if we're going by you could just disarm any wand and it works that way. Voldemort killed Harry, right? So if you disarm a wizard or kill them, that wand becomes loyal to you, right? He killed Harry. So the wand should have been loyal to Voldemort, yes? I don't write the rules. Ask J.K. fucking Rowling. She wrote the book literally on this. She literally wrote the book on this. And then where it should have ended with them standing there victorious, fade out credits. Instead, we get 19 years later, platform 9 3/4, and they're taking their kids to the train. And none of them look like they've aged 19 years. Apparently, the first time they shot this, the makeup was so bad they looked at it and went, no, and had to redo it. So they just did touch-ups, basically. They didn't look any older. Ron looks like he has a comb over, but other than that, they don't really look. And I'm sorry, but to see Malfoy stand there on the platform with his wife and kid, that's not justice. I'm sorry, but as soon as the mystery was reestablished for the side of good, all three Malfoys should have been found and locked up in Azkaban prison for the rest of their goddamn lives. I don't care if they walked away. Lucius Malfoy has at least killed someone. They all should go to Azkaban prison. They were on the side of the Dark Lord. They should go to prison. The fact that they show Malfoy happy and living with a wife and the kid's now going to... No. Bullshit. I'm sorry. I don't get that ending. Maybe they wanted to... Whatever. He's changed. Who cares? Maybe his parents both locked up and he got to go free because he didn't actually kill anyone. But I don't know. Shoni has a happy life with a wife and a kid. Just... It irks me. It's not... Justice. No, it's... No. I'm getting a lot of mileage out of that justice from Vernon there. And then, what is this bullshit thing he says to his son? First of all, Albus Severus Potter. How many times has this kid been picked on already? I get this is the Wizarding World, but come on. Just, no. You're not even after... Two headmasters of Hogwarts, Esther, okay? He's like, well, what if I'm a Slytherin? He's like, well, you could talk to the Sorting Hat. It listens and takes in consideration. I'm like, okay, but seriously, though, anyone who's ever been picked for Slytherin was evil. So you should be thinking of, well, if your son, if you're picked for Slytherin, it means you're evil and I'll have to disown you. What? Sorry. Nah, and then they get on the fucking train and we get the song. Only thing that could have made it better was John Williams coming back, but it's fine. And yeah, there it is. I'm going to give it a very high middle of the road. It's good. It's good. And it's a great finale. But it's hampered down by the fact... Hampered down? No, it's taken down by the fact that it's part 2 of a 2-part story that didn't need to be a 2-part story. I know a lot of people say it did. But it didn't. Because everything in part 1 could have been squished to the first hour of this movie. First hour and 15 minutes could have been the first part. The other hour and 15 minutes, the second part. 1 3-hour movie. There you go. That's all you needed. Endgame only needed 1 part. And before you started saying Infinity War was part 1, shut up. No, it wasn't. The reason they were part 1 and 2, but the stories are significantly different. Yes, Endgame picks up from a cliffhanger, but it was 1 movie. Because Marvel, Feige, the Russos realized they needed to split the stories in half. They couldn't just have 1 continuing story, even though it does continue, but it's not really, it's not, the whole Infinity Stone thing is taken care of right away at the beginning. So now it's a whole new story for the rest of it. This is 1 continuous story. The first hour and 15 minutes could have been the first half of the book, and the last hour and 15 minutes could have been the second half of the book, and you could have 1 book, 1 movie, 3 hours. That's all you needed. You didn't need to switch it to 2 movies. And that just gave other studios ideas, because you got to have money, right? That's all it's about. I always split it in 2 so you can make more money. And you did. And other studios went, well, if they can do it, we can do it. Didn't work for Divergent, now did it? But yeah, so it's a high middle of the road for me. So that's it. Before I go, I would like to pay tribute to the Harry Potter actors who have passed away. Now, this is the list I found online. I had to add 1 more at the end because it wasn't on the list I had. So if I'm missing some, please let me know. But I got it. Harry Potter in memoriam. Richard Harris, Dumbledore number 1, 1930 to 2002. Alan Rickman, Professor Snape, 1946 to 2016. These aren't in order of when they died. I couldn't find a list like that, so I just went with what was on it. Helen McCrory, Narcissa Malfoy, 1968, 2021. Robert Knox, Marcus Belby. He's the guy eating the pudding in part 6. He died before the film even came out. 1989 to 2008. John Hurt, Mr. Ollivander, 1940 to 2017. Richard Griffiths, Vernon Dursley, 1947 to 2013. Robbie Coltrane, Hagrid, 1950 to 2022. Shouldn't have told you that. Vern Troyer, Grip Hook number 1, 1969 to 2018. Eric Sykes, Riddle's gardener from the 4th film, 1923 to 2012. Timothy Bateson, Creature, he's the voice of Creature, 1926 to 2009. Paul Ritter, Eldred Werple, whoever that is, 1966 to 2021. Maybe some big character from the book. I don't know. I don't remember the name. David Legino, Fenrir Greyback, 1963, 2014. Jimmy Gardner, Ernie, the guy who drove the bus in the 3rd one, 1924, 2010. Maggie Smith, Minerva McGonagall, 1934, 2024. She was 90. Right, is that 90? 70? 90? I don't know. Michael Gambon, Dumbledore number 2, 1940 to 2023. Robert Hardy, Cornelius Fudge, 1925, 2017. Roger Lloyd Pack, Barty Crouch, Sr., 1944, 2014. Alfred Burke, again, another name I don't remember. Armando Dippet is his character's name. 1918 to 2011. Elizabeth Spriggs, the fat lady in the picture. Couldn't remember her name. 1929 to 2008. And finally, Leslie Phillips, the Sorting Hat. Had to be Gryffindor. 1924 to 2022. I thought that was better. I don't know. So there they are. May they rest in peace, all those actors. But yes. So I have the ranking left, and that'll be the next video I do. But until then, what are your thoughts on Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows Part 2? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I've been Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.